From RTS titles to turn-based strategies and even the first attempt with Space Marine 1, all of these games have fallen short of what it would feel like to be a Space Marine. So why am I excited for Space Marine 2? I'ma tell you why. Blood for their blood. Yo, chill! Games like Space Hulk Tactics and Battle Sector are great turn-based strategies, but they don't capture the relentless momentum of a Space Marine assault. Space Marines aren't about taking turns. Don't forget to like and subscribe. They're about overwhelming force, precision, adaptability, and brotherhood.
For the Emperor.
Sure, these games mimic the tabletop experience well, but I want to be a Space Marine.
Cyrus here.
Dawn of War was a fantastic real-time strategy game, no doubt. And some of the sequels were too. Some of the sequels. But it's hard to feel like a nimble strategic Space Marine when you're directing squads from a bird's eye view.
Kill the orcs that are out in the open.
The agility, the speed, the raw and visceral combat, it's all lost in translation. As we see in multiple books with squads leading themselves, and of course with the first game, where Titus is mostly on his own. Games Workshop has been really stingy with how they license their Space Marines from their 40k IP. So Deathwing is kind of a Space Marine game. Deathwing tried to emulate that feeling of being an individual Space Marine by putting us in the boots of a Terminator, but you can't really consider Terminators a regular type of Space Marine. After all, they're specialized suits, and very rarely will you have more than just a small handful of even Terminators, if not just Space Marines, in any type of combat situation. And the gameplay was pretty simple. Given the flowery prose that books have on Space Marines in combat,
The Emperor riposts with a psychic stroke, intended to disrupt the War Master's nervous system. Horus laughs as he deflects it. His claws take the Emperor across the throat, opening windpipe and jugular.
there isn't really much you could play in Deathwing that would emulate that feeling. After all, it was really just shooting bullets. I mean, that's really cool if you're an orc, I guess. Space Marine 1 was a solid attempt. The game felt like a generic third-person shooter with some 40k paint slapped on. The combat and gameplay lacked the brutal, tactical, and relentless violence that Space Marines deliver. Most enemies were orcs with basic attack patterns. Fun at first, but ultimately repetitive. Now, if I was an Imperial citizen, the game was really great propaganda to not be afraid of orcs. But if you actually know how orcs are, they don't actually speak like English. That whatever that accent is.
Not expecting that, were ya?
They actually like just yell and spit at you before they bite your head off. So as a lore nerd, I was pretty disappointed. There was little need to dodge, to think, or to act like a true Space Marine who's pumped full of adrenaline, their brain cells firing, and multiple organs operating at 110 efficiency as they figure out how to stab, shoot, kick, bite, and make a snippy remark in one moment. I see you, Space Wolves. Space Marine played it safe by delivering a cool Warhammer 40k game, but not really a cool game in general.
But now, death comes from the void.
Space Marine 2 has finally escaped the Immaterium and is here in real space. After years of waiting since Space Marine 1, finally it looks like Space Marine 2 can deliver what we as 40k fans have been waiting for. The complete arsenal, from multiple bolter variants, chain swords, power fist shields, and the kill animations. The animations fit perfectly against the imagined Space Marine novel that Aaron Dembski-Bowden himself is writing about me because I'm a Space Marine. And let's not forget about the 6v6 PvP game mode. Sure, it might end up horribly imbalanced as all kind of small scale PvP experiences go, but this is the first time we'll have multiplayer Space Marine on Space Marine action that isn't immediately cancelled. I'm not even going to talk about Space Marine DMO. You can't have a 40k game without customization, so of course we got one in Space Marine 2. But I don't know. It'll be nice to see the various bits of a Space Marine. Bits like miniature bits, with all those extra artist details to give you ideas so that you can learn hours and hours of painting theory in order to have a sort of half-assed attempt at it onto your own minute. Part of the fun of understanding the lore is understanding the context behind some of the character designs. Unfortunately though, it looks like the customization is limited to only really portray Legion color schemes rather than allow full control over components of the armor for custom successor chapter color schemes. At least in multiplayer, there won't be a way to spot other people with either their own homebrew chapter color schemes or perhaps be a reference to successor chapters.
I am honored to have Lord Titus command our unit.
But this is, after all, still the only game that will be out where we can actually play as Space Marines from the Games Workshop Warhammer 40k IP. So I'm at least excited that the one experience that we're going to get on it is actually a good one, and hopefully it brings more people into the games and into the ecosystem of Games Workshop so that, I don't know, maybe we can finally get an actual Space Marine MMO. That would be cool, right? So what do you think? Are you excited or against what's been shown for Space Marine 2? Will it finally give us the true Space Marine experience that the books have been describing? Because I'm sure as hell there's not going to be another Space Marine type game for another 10 years if this one fails. Fortunately though, it looks like Games Workshop is being a bit more liberal with their Space Marine IP not only being in Call of Duty as a crazy cosmetic option, but also with a series premiering in the Lost Level anthology. Given the liberal use of the IP, it might come sometime in the future that we might even get a first-person Space Marine game, which could be really cool. If you're excited as I am, like and subscribe. I'll cover more Space Marine 2 gameplay content soon. Until then, stay vigilant, brothers and sisters. The Emperor protects. Skulls for the Skull